But mercifully, we go from that tutorial, which I just so desperately needed, I can't stress that enough, to our first contest of the night, Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. And I gotta say real quick, Ash, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this match, that really reflecting back on this Raw, I've gotta give them credit, and surprises me too, how they structured this whole show. I think they really knew how to keep the crowd engaged for most of the 3 hours with how they ordered these segments.
Yeah.
Because you go from that really hot opener, with all those guys involved, to Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. I just think that's great to sustain the momentum. So really, really clever by WWE, and that's not something I say often, and for good reason. But, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this match. These guys have just such amazing chemistry. Bray's been looking stronger than ever, hot off his program with Dean Ambrose, of which he came out on the winning end. And they have a nice beginning with Bryan just doing the kicks and having the quickness and kind of controlling the pace. At one point, he takes Bray out to the outside, goes to the top rope, hits a crossbody. It's at this point that we kind of see a shift because we see the emergence of Corporate Kane. And
I have a question for you, John.
Absolutely, man.
Did you find yourself struggling to watch this at all?
No, I felt engaged for most of it. Maybe I checked out at like one point, to be fair. But yeah, I love
No. I don't mean like it held your interest. I mean like having trouble watching this like car crash, like you want to watch but you feel like you shouldn't be watching, like because Daniel Bryan with his neck and how stiff these guys were working.
You know what? I can't really say that I did because I see what you're driving at. Because one focal point of this match, Bray was really working over the neck of Bryan, which I really admired his psychology there.
Right.
But I really look
because like there was a dude on Reddit that said this is how I've been watching this entire match, referring to the Bryan versus Wyatt match, and it was a picture of a kid with his hands over his eyes, with the little window peeking between two of his fingers.
Right.
And like I saw that on Reddit, and then I look over and my mom's doing the exact same thing. Like she can't watch the match straight on because she's so worried that Daniel Bryan is going to get re-injured and she doesn't want to see that. So to me, the fact that a bunch of people, and I think I can kind of jump to that conclusion because it's one of those things where there was the person on Reddit plus all the people that upvoted him plus my mom. And it's like my mom is kind of that cross section where she kind of has some familiarity, but she's not like a super like in the bubble like you and I would be. And then there are the guys on Reddit who are way in the bubble for the most part. And those two kind of separate cross sections are both having the same reaction to this match because they don't want to see Bryan get hurt again. And this is just Bray Wyatt. And these are probably a lot of the same people that are calling for Daniel Bryan to win the Rumble to face Brock freaking Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, dude, when you really put it that way. Really, if I'm being honest, if there was any point that would have caused any quote-unquote discomfort, which I just think it's more from a general perspective, and I wasn't even really thinking about Bryan's neck, Bray nailed a vicious clothesline at one point in this match that Bryan just sold really well. Also got his senton in there, so there was really some great physicality in this that I loved. And ultimately, dude, the upset comes. I mean, Bryan does rally a comeback a little bit, which the crowd was hot for, with the kicks to the chest and everything else going, yes. And it just, they were so engaged with it. But, towards the end, Bryan gets the suicide dive. It seems like he's in total control here, that he's finally going to get a clean victory over Bray Wyatt and put that, demon to bed in, more ways than one. But then Kane comes, he grabs Bryan, he kind of roughs him up a little bit, tosses him back in.
See, that's the thing, like, how can you even say he roughed him up a little bit? He grabbed him by the foot, pulled him out, slammed his face into the mat, and rolled him right back in. Like, that's the minimum amount of distraction that you can cause without getting DQ'd.
That's true. And then I think Bray, though, made contact with Bryan again, like his head in the corner, like turnbuckle. So he hit the corner.
That looked so brutal. Bray threw Bryan in the turnbuckle, and his head hit the middle rope. Or the middle turnbuckle it was. That looked so bad. But yeah, then Bray capitalized and Sister Abigail Bryan and won. So
yeah, Sister Abigail and
Bray Wyatt is now 3-1 against Daniel Bryan in singles matches, but the one win that Bryan has was a DQ win. So if we're talking only clean victories, Wyatt's 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, Brea's got Bryan.
And that's including live events. It's not like I'm just talking about stuff that was televised or on pay-per-view. That includes live events.
Right. Brea's got Bryan's number. There's no other way to describe it. And that very reason, though, is why if they keep up Brea's momentum, at this trajectory, I'm very confident that he'll finally nab the world title this year. And I would love to see Bray and Bryan in a program over it with Bryan chasing Bray. I think that would be awesome. I'd be
and it would really have to be that way. It would have to be Bryan being the chaser, because it would make no sense for Bryan to hold the title and then miraculously on his first attempt to defend it against Bray Wyatt, who he's never beaten before, he manages to muster up the will to win. It just wouldn't make sense. It would have to be like Bryan versus Bray. 1, Bray wins. 2, Bryan wins by DQ. 3, Bryan finally wins clean and gets the title.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Ashton. I think that booking is quite sound. It's the only way I would really believe in a program between these two, and I'm hoping that's exactly how it goes.
If it happens.
If it happens, yeah. And I mean, 2015, I think, is such a wide open year, at least for the really big players, but Bray does get the win tonight. I'm so glad he's getting all this momentum back since his return. I think it's been wonderful. God
knows he stole enough momentum from Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, I know, man, I know. But hopefully Bray can just run with it and be the star that I think a lot of us, believe him capable of being, despite some of the setbacks.
Yeah.
I know, but we go to replays. Kane is loving it. You would have thought that he just saw like a 5-star film or something, because he's clapping. He's all in it. Kane goes in the ring.
He just successfully filed somebody's income taxes.
I know, right? He grabs Bryan by the throat. He choke slams him. Talks some smack, like, you want to embarrass me, You want to embarrass? Well, no, Kane, I really didn't want to embarrass you, but all right, we're gonna go there. And he mounts Bryan, gets the lefts and rights, really punching him, because he's corporate Kane now, so no tombstones because he doesn't have the mask. And he actually stands up and loosens his tie before going back on the offensive, and then just saying, yeah, I think I got my fill. I think I'm good. So
I love how he just basically says that Daniel Bryan at this point is his punching bag, and he really just needs to take some stress out.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been a long day working on the Authorities' checkbook. He just needs to loosen up a little bit.
And that whole squeeze me doll that you see in a lot of offices, that's just not doing it for Kane anymore.
He needs the real thing.
Yeah, he needs the real thing, exactly. So we go from that, the Royal Rumble Legends panel, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels gets hyped up a little bit. Then we come back from commercial, we see Triple H backstage on the phone. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash walk in wearing NWO t-shirts, and they all hug. And this is the point, Ashton, where I think everybody just gets goosebumps.
Goosebumps? Why?
Well, because you see, like, all the friends back together, and it just seems like kind of like a nostalgia. Well, maybe not goosebumps, but nostalgia. Definitely, like, waves of nostalgia seeing these guys together.
I personally got the most nostalgia later on during the whole thing leading up to the Ascension, but we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely. Nash tells Triple H, drop the suit, man. Run around with us tonight. Learn to delegate. You're still
learn to delegate. I love it.
Yeah, you're still doing this authority gimmick, and Triple H just kind of gets, it's not so bad. Then Shawn Michaels.
It's not a gimmick anymore, Kevin. I'm actually in this role.
I'm a suit. I'm so sorry. But Shawn Michaels walks in, and he gets a pop. Comments on the Legends panel, and he says, guys, Hunter, why don't you just give Ryback, Rowan, and Ziggler their jobs back, and you could come join us, at the Legends panel. We can all party there tonight, and do it like the Outsiders. And HBK, he also takes a crack at Triple H's suit, and he says, "What are you, Vince Jr.?" Ooh, that's some playground talk right there.
I was under the impression that Vince already was Vince Jr.
Yeah, really. So wouldn't it be Vince Jr. I don't know.
Vince the Third.
Yeah, Vince the Third. Oh my God, that sounds so obnoxious. It's perfect.
My name is. Oh no! Wait, it's Triple H. So my name is Vincent Kennedy McMahon the Third.
Perfect. Spot on impression there.
Water.
The spit in the water. Yeah. It's Poland Spring.
I thought it was Deer Park.
Because when you're corporate, you never stop promoting. Ever. And he says, well, Sean, yeah, it's not a bad show. I mean, it's nothing compared to your Remington t-shirt. And he actually had to say the name, it's Remington.
And he actually outlined it like, I'm not sure if this is the Truman Show or what.
But wait a minute, I just made an unbelievable connection. Could it be that HBK is pulling an edge and he's supporting Ashley Remington? I wish. But,
I was thinking more along the lines of like he's sponsored by Remington and Triple H just made him a buttload of money by plugging it on his TV show that has 4.5 million viewers every week.
Yeah, your idea is more realistic, but I'm still going to live in my fantasy world.
Hey, guess what? They're not the only ones to show up because up next, X-Pac shows up. Or so we thought.
Until we were duped and realized that it's Damien X-Dow.
We should have known. I mean, it looked as if X-Pac had gotten a solid 15 to 20 years younger. I don't think that I'm not trying to take a shot at X-Pac's intelligence level, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to call him the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't think he's the one that, if anybody's going to, is going to be the one to discover the fountain of youth.
Yeah, and I gotta say, while we're talking about sharp tools in the shed, I'm a very dull hammer, because I actually believe that was Sean Waltman for a second. I'm like, whoa, holy crap, is he doing DDP yoga? Like, he's so youthful right now. Like,
DDP yoga.
It's just looking so good.
Apparently DDP yoga also makes your beard a lot thicker and longer.
I know, right? So many benefits. I've been trying to get on a program myself, but it's not about me. But Sean Waltman.
Tell that to JBL.
I know, right? But then the real Sean Waltman comes in, and we have a little bit of a pose down. Like, I don't know.
And he looks a lot more like Sean Waltman. Skinnier, less beard, more cracked up look,
Exactly. And he's like, could it be? Could I have finally found my mirror? So he puts it to the test. Of course, Damien X-Dow passes with flying colors because he was born to do this, son. And, right when Waltman's like, you're hired. And you think that a beautiful friendship is about to blossom.
And then The Miz comes in and ruins everything, which is exactly what The Miz was born to do.
Exactly. The record scratch that. And Miz comes in and says, my stunt double. And then, he says, go change. And Mizdow goes to do that. Miz, of course, lingers around like the bad odor that we all know him to be.
He is a lingerer. He's like, I know you've seen Pineapple Express. I don't know if you remember. They even talk about lingerers there. The guys just won't go away, even though their business is done there.
Yeah, I know. He's like that unpopular kid at school trying to make it in with the cool kids, which, I mean, what do we always...
Yeah, and he even sits at their lunch table, but he just kind of sits by himself off in a corner while all the cool kids are actually having fun with themselves.
Which is appropriate because what would they always call themselves? Kliqs. And that's what he tried to get in on, and it's just like, well, so, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, and then he goes for the too sweet, the Kliq handshake up top, and literally everybody completely just leaves him hanging. But Kevin Nash, there's hope because Kevin Nash goes for it, but then he just brushes his hair with his hand.
Yeah, I hope Bullet Club and the entire Wolfpack put your face in their collective GPS so that their fists can trace it all night long. You're a disgrace.
Mine's sexual, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, there you go.
I couldn't tell if you were going for a beatdown kind of angle there, or if you were going for a Ric Flair 60-minute man kind of angle there.
I'll let you in on something that only Dave Meltzer knows. I didn't even know what I was going for there. So then Nash
Meltzer would know that too.
So then Nash asks Triple H, what the hell kind of show are you running? And then Triple H buries his face in his hands and then proceeds to bury the entire company and says that he's ashamed.
I love it. I love how meta this moment was. The hell kind of show are you running here, Kevin Nash? And then Triple H is just like, I'm sorry. It's really bad. I'm sorry.
And then they all went headhunting for Kevin Dunn off screen. Aw, yeah.